everyone. Welcome back to the Waxing Podcast. I am so excited and just beyond thrilled to have my next guest on today. She is coming from Australia. Her and I are doing a 15, by the way, I looked it up, hour difference. It is 8 a.m. her time and it is 5 p.m. the previous day my time. Which is so crazy.
In your future.
you are in the future. So I'm so excited to welcome Jade.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm equally as excited to be on this podcast today.
It's so trippy knowing that like you're just now getting your day started in a Friday and like I'm going to dinner later and like it's actually blowing my mind, but it's
really cool. It's really cool. It makes the whole concept of time seem really fake, doesn't it? Because you're like, how can my day and time be so far in advance to your day and time? It just throws everything out, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like just like a really, I don't know, like I've had a really good time this season bringing on people from all over the world because it's like I, for the first couple of seasons, just kept it in the States. And I think to myself, like, gosh, the beauty industry is huge. And like, it proves to me how big it is when I'm talking to you, who is going to unravel and explain her whole life to the podcast today. And like, how cool is that? I just love this whole entire thought process and ability to do this.
Yeah, likewise. We're in 15 countries around the world now. So we're used to different time zones and it's just amazing that you can reach so many people so easily now. It's incredible.
It is so incredible. And so, Jade, I wanted to just have people get to know you, get to know your like beginnings before you became a business coach and you were in 15 different countries, and really just talk about yourself and how we landed in the beauty industry.
Yeah, for sure. I'll start off in my teenage years. I don't know if I've spoken about this publicly. I was thinking about it the other day and I was like, I'll have to talk about this next time. I actually wanted to get into hair when I was 13 or 14. I wanted to be a hairdresser. I grew up with my dad, and when I went on school holidays with my mum, she had this friend that had this hair salon, and so she's like, why don't you go try it out for a couple days or a week and see if you like it? And I was like, well, that's a good idea, just go and do a bit of an internship there. And I think I might have been 13 at the time or something like that. And so I went and worked there for a week, and I was sweeping floors and making tea, and I was like, I want to do the real stuff. I don't want to be doing this. Is this what it's like for the first year? Maybe I don't want to be a hairdresser. And so I changed
their laundry. You're like, wait a minute.
So I changed my mind on that pretty quick. I decided I wanted to be a pharmacist. So Mum also knew a pharmacist. She knew a lot of people. So I went and did a week in pharmacy, and I was like, this is just retail. So
I literally love, because you're a mom too, I love that you at 13 were like, I want to do this. And your mom's like, well, let's go take you to do it. Like, what better way to like decide as a little kid if like you were into it or not than to like do that? How cool.
Yeah. It was really cool. She knew a lot of people, so I got to try a lot of different things. And so by the time I was 15, I was heading into year 11. I was living with my dad and my stepmom. So my dad and my stepmom, they raised me since I was like 2. And she had a stroke, and it was a pretty bad one. She was in hospital. And at that time, I had 2 younger brothers. They were really, really young. Like I think they were under 2 maybe. So they were really two of them under 2. So it was really scary for Dad because he was a baker. He would work at nights and Mum would look after us. She was a full-time mum. And so when she was in hospital, Dad's like, whoa, I can't stop working. I need to keep bringing income into the house. And at the same time, I can't look after all of these kids either. And so because there was 3 of us, by this stage, my sister had moved in to live with my mum. And so Dad's like, can you go live with your grandparents for a while? So I got pulled out of school, had to go move in with my grandparents. They lived about an hour and a half away. So that I was nearly 16 at this stage. So they said it's a lot to take in. Yeah. Yeah. And they said, look, can you go into work? Because putting me into, it was literally 2 weeks before year 11 was supposed to start. I don't think that it was an option to get me into a school that last minute in where they lived. And so they said, look, can you get a job or do something, because they didn't want me around the house all day either. So I was like, all right, I'll go get a job. So I was already working at this stage anyway. I've been working since I was 13 because I've got a lot of energy and I needed to, do things to occupy my time. And so I just had jobs on the weekends and stuff like that. So I already had I was used to working and getting an income. I'd already saved up and bought my car and things like that. So I went and got a job working for Woolworths, which is a major supermarket chain over here in Australia. They're probably one of the largest, if not the second largest. So I went and worked for them, just like, packing shelves or I think I worked at the checkouts initially, like, a checkout chick. And
also a checkout chick.
yeah, it's very social, very energetic at that stage. I had lots of chit chats with people. I got to know the whole town pretty much. And eventually
You're like, oh wow, I could like be forward facing and talking to people all the time. Like you find out.
Exactly. And so, I did that ended up staying with my grandparents for a few years until I was 17 and a half. And then I started exploring moving out on my own. I was a very independent kid. I was a firstborn. So very independent. And I can see it in my son too. I'm like, he's very independent as well. He's going to be off doing his own thing one day. And it makes me sad. But anyway.
It's the same feeling, right? It's like feels good when you're independent, but whenever your son is showing signs of independence, you're like, wait a minute. No.
Come back, give me a hug. No. So I moved out on my own into the city when I was 18. I grew up in the country. I was a bit of a country girl. And so moved into the city when I was 18 and just worked my way up through management at Woolworths and got to the stage where I was 2IC for a few various different departments. And then I was really lucky that the managers that were above me pretty much let me run the show because I was very, very independent. So they loved it. They got to step back and cruise, and I got to really show my skills. And I did this for about 10 years, and I started to get really bored by the time I was 24. We found that around 24, 25, people typically go through what I call a quarter life crisis, which is where they start to evaluate their career and go, do I really want to be doing this into my 30s? I don't know. I think a lot of maturity kicks in at that age too for people. And so I went through that and I was like, look, I'm really bored. I felt like every day was a daydream. I don't know if anybody else has experienced that, but I literally felt like I would wake up and go to work and everything was robotic and a daydream. And I didn't feel like I had any challenge in my life whatsoever.
Yeah, so you definitely don't have that personality too. You said it too. You're like the people that were, I don't know if they were above you or at least like your coworkers side by side, but you said they both stepped back and they like let you run the show. So like in your head, do you look back on that and go, oh my God, I was so meant to like be an entrepreneur and like a business owner? And like, isn't it so obvious now to look into like that moment and think that, but at the time you probably didn't even really think about that just yet, you know?
Being a business owner had never come on my radar because for as long as my dad had a business before I was born. He had a bakery, but not for very long. He had it for a little bit, but then he sold it. And as long as I've worked, as long as I've been alive, he's always worked for somebody. So like I'd never had any role models that were entrepreneurs to sort of go, I want to be an entrepreneur. So I always thought I had to work for somebody. And now looking back on it, I'm so grateful because I got to learn so many incredible skills. I got to learn leadership, leading different personalities. They put me through a lot of training at Woolworths, which was amazing. So a lot of training in terms of management, marketing, staff, inventory management, stock takes, like all the stuff that you need to run a successful business with product and service. And I got a lot of that training at Woolworths. So I realized I sort of had hit my head on the ceiling there and it was going to be a long time before I could be store manager. Like I wanted to be the big boss, but I didn't have it in me to wait that long. So I was like, okay, it's time for a change. So I started looking for another job, and every job I kept going for, I was like, I'll get into account management because again, I knew the products, I knew the role type because I deal with them every day in my job. And I was like, maybe I could do that and just travel around and stuff. And I kept getting rejected. I get all the way up to the last 2 or 3. I do the psych testing and then they'd come back and they'd say, sorry, we've gone with another candidate. And the last one that knocked me back, I was like, what is going on with these psych testings? What are you seeing that I'm not seeing? Like, why do I keep getting rejected? And he looked me in the eye and he said, Jade, you're too honest for sales. And I was like, okay, I get it. I am very honest. So maybe sales isn't cut out for me. They were looking for a different person.
Yeah, I'm like, that's so strange because like I'm not in sales. Well, we're all kind of in sales,
We're
but
all in
it's like,
sales.
yeah, you would think that would be like a good thing, but I can kind of see that's funny. So that's a great takeaway, I guess.
Yeah, and this was a long time ago, back when sales was pushing product. It's not pushing product now. Like the selling's very different now. It's about value creation, about communication, not about pushing and convincing and deceiving. And so anyway, I was like, well, I'll take that as a blessing. I'm obviously not meant to do this career path, but I was like, I was lost. I didn't know what to do because I'd left school at the end of grade 10. I had no university degree to fall back on, no senior years to fall back on in terms of a lot of jobs required you to have completed year 11 and 12. So I was like, I really don't know what job I'm going to do now. And one day I was at a barbecue with my husband, well, my now husband, but we've been dating for nearly 14, we're married now, but we've been together for nearly 14 years. So this was a long time ago now. We went to a barbecue together with one of his high school friends, and his wife was a lawyer. And she's like telling me about how they were looking for a legal assistant because she worked for a property developer, and they had all of these units settling soon, and they had a retail complex they were building. And it was a really big project, like one of the Gold Coast's biggest projects in a long time. And they were screaming for a legal assistant. And I was like, I'll be perfect for it. And she's like, why? And I was like, because of, I really want to learn. I'm really good at, challenges. I can pick up things fast. I can do this. I can do that. She goes, but what qualifications do you have? And I'm like, don't worry about that. Like, I can learn. And
Enthusiasm.
yeah, I was like, I have something nobody else has. And she goes, do you realize I have lawyers applying for this role because there's a big job shortage? And I was like, yeah, but you'll be able to teach me. You won't be able to teach them. They're overqualified. And anyway, I just managed to talk myself into getting an interview with the director and with this lady. And don't ask me how. It must have been divine intervention or something, because on paper, I did not stack up. So I went in there, had an interview, and they gave me the job. It was just incredible. So I remember my family, my partner's family, were kind of a bit nervous. They were like, you're leaving job security for something you've never done before. Are you sure you want to do this? Like, this is a big move. And I was like, absolutely, I want to do this. So I jumped in feet first. And my first day at work was the day before we had over 100 units settling. In property law with conveyancing, it's a really high stress situation when you've got, one high value apartment, over $1 million apartment settling, let alone 100 of them. So this is a really busy week for them. And I was the girl who knew nothing, that couldn't help at all. And I was starting work, and I was like, I really need to make myself useful. So I just, I was really good at organization and management and stuff like that. So I just dove into the things I could adapt to, like, sort of being her PA for a little bit, just to sort of help keep her organized, help keep everything going. And then eventually after about,
so helpful.
Yeah, that was the only way I could be.
Yeah, but she probably was like, wow, this is such a different angle than what I'm used to getting for this title. And you know what I mean? She was probably she probably started to pivot and see the value in that, at least for the moment, until you did learn. Like how amazing that you made yourself resourceful in moments that you weren't technically resourceful in the job. Like you still figured it out.
True. I never thought of it like that, but yeah, no, you're right. It's true. And after about 6 months, I started to get the hang of the role. I started to really enjoy it. I picked up so much in that 6 months. I was so becoming really valuable and helpful. And I remember I come home to Aaron one day and I said, babe, I know what I want to do. And he goes, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to be a lawyer. And he goes, oh, that's amazing. He goes, but how do we make that happen? Because you didn't complete year 11 and 12, and you've got to get, in Australia, we have to get what's called an OP, or an overall position, which means when you do your final exam at the end of year 12, it's like a countrywide exam, and they rank everybody based on your score. And I had to get an overall position of between 1 and 5, which is the top 5% of the nation. And I had to get that score to get in to study law at university. Otherwise, no university would accept me. And I was like, I don't know, I'll figure it out. So I started phoning. I
love everything about this so far. I literally am obsessed with the thought of you in life. Everybody's telling you you're going to do that. And you're like, yeah, I'll do it. Why not? Like, that is entrepreneurship at its finest. You are like a walking businesswoman, and I'm obsessed.
Richard Branson says, say yes and figure it out later. That was my motto, but I didn't know that was his motto at the time. I just adopted it.
I love it. I've actually watched his documentary, and fascinating dude.
So fascinating. So his other motto is, throw parties. Everything works when you throw at parties. Yeah, I didn't go down that path though. So yeah, I was like, I don't know, I'll figure it out. So I started phoning colleges because I was like, I need to do my year 11 and 12 equivalent. And in Australia, we have what's called diplomas or advanced diplomas. So I was like, I'll do that, which is like a tertiary secondary education. It's like in between your schooling, your university, you've got like this tertiary step where you can do like diplomas, advanced diplomas, certificates, all of that kind of stuff. So I was like, I'll call them, they'll know. I called them, they said, yep, you can do an advanced diploma in business, which is one below a university degree. And that will basically tick off the requirements for year 11 and 12. You'll learn about business, which I was obviously really interested in. And then you can get your overall score to get into university. So I was working full time. I enrolled in that. Typically, it's a 12-month diploma, but university started in 9 months' time, and I had to get my grades before then so that I could actually get accepted to start that semester. I think I was 26 or 26 at the time, and I was like, I don't have a lot of time. I'd set a goal for myself that I wanted to be completed before I was 30. So in order to be completed my university degree, I had tight schedules that I had to stick to, and I couldn't afford to fail. I couldn't afford to get, push time out. Otherwise, it would be 6 months.
And not to mention, you did not go to school for 11 and 12. And so you've also taken a really long break from like studying like that.
Yes.
That in itself would like if I got put into a math class right now, I would walk out immediately.
It was like 11 years. It was challenging. It was very challenging. And not to mention like doing an advanced diploma in business. I had to learn about advanced business strategy, and I knew nothing about advanced business strategy. I had to learn English because I hadn't done English since, English is my first language, but there's a lot to English.
Totally different. There's a lot.
So I was really lucky. My husband was very, very good at English. Like he used to write poetry, and he's a really good writer. He does copywriting, all that kind of stuff. So I was really lucky that he was good, that he could help me at home. But that was all the help I got. That was it. Like he was teaching me how to use, between work and Aaron, I was learning how to use Microsoft Word, learning how to do proper punctuation and how to structure sentences. The rest was on me. So I had to, I had to do it all in 9 months, squeeze it in. So I was working full time, studying more than full time just to squeeze everything in. And every assignment I was handing in, I was getting 100%. And I was like, how is this possible? Like I don't know anybody that's ever gotten 100%. I was like, have I got angels looking out for me or something? Like seriously, this isn't like bizarre. There was every single assignment for the whole 9 months. I got 100%, but one assignment, I got 99%, and I was so dirty. I was like, why 99? I ruined my streak.
Almost freaking there. That teacher needs to chill. Let's be honest.
I even took him out for a coffee. I was like, why 99%? I got 100% on everything else. And he goes, well, here's just some constructive criticism. I was like, that's not warranted.
Let me humble you really quickly. And it's like, dude.
So I was blown away. I was stoked at the same time. I got 100%. Anyway, the end results came out. We were on holidays down. We loved this place called Kingscliff, and it's down just past the Gold Coast on the beach. And we went on holidays down there and had an apartment on the beach. And I remember the assignment results came out because we just finished the whole semester and like the whole thing. And the results came out. And I needed between 1 and 5 to get into university. And the results came out and I got 99. And I was like, silly me. I was like, how did I get 99? I need between 1 and 5. Why didn't I get 1? How did I get 9? How did I get on the opposite end of the scale? I was so confused. I thought they failed me. And I was like, I called them up and I was like, hey, just give me a call because I got my results and I got 99, but I need between 1 and 5 to get into law. What does this mean? She laughed. She goes, you got an OP1. And I was like, what? I wasn't expecting it. And she goes, yeah, you got an OP1. And I was like, I remember I nearly dropped the phone. I was like, oh my God, thank you.
I feel like I'm going to drop the phone. I'm like, that's insane. I literally have goosebumps. I am like, I've just met you and I've never been so proud of someone in my life. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, seriously, like we don't give ourselves enough credit because I think it's like embedded in us to always be like, okay, what's next and what's next? And like, I know I'm here, but we always want to be here. But like podcasts are so cool because like, can you believe that? I mean, not going to like people that finish to 12th grade couldn't even go back to that educational system and do an advanced degree and still do as good as you. And you got like ripped out of what was your normal with your dad, to your grandparents, to moving out on your own really young, to just bouncing with jobs. Like, how insane is that?
I
you studied your
believe it.
there's people in school 11 and 12, right? And it's like they have no responsibilities but to study.
Yeah.
And you have everything on your plate plus studying. I mean, it's just like I'm blown away, honestly, blown away by this story.
Thank you. I was blown away by my story. I was like, is this really happening to me? Like, I couldn't believe it. So yeah, needless to say, I got accepted to every university I applied for, and I chose to go with Bond University because they were known to be the best law degree in Australia. So I went with them, plus they were just down the road, which was really handy. And they had what's called an accelerated degree, which means instead of in universities in Australia at that time, they used to do semesters, which means 2 semesters per year. So you'd study for 6 months, and you'd have a break, you study for another 6 months. So that means the number of subjects I could squeeze in a year max was 8. Because you do 4 per semester. I needed to do more than that because I had this goal of finishing before I was 30. So Bond had what's called trimesters, which meant you could do 4 per semester, and there were 3 of them. So I could do 12 subjects a semester. So I decided to go with Bond. It cost me an arm and a leg, can I tell you?
I'm sure. I know. I'm like, oh my God.
It was well over 100,000 Australian to do my degree, where everyone else was only charging 40 or 50 at the time. So I paid for it, but I had the most incredible education. It was phenomenal. At this stage, I was still working for the property developer full time. I studied full time law. And my first year, they call it freshman 15. I put on a bunch of weight because I was just trying to juggle the new routine. And I'd work and then I'd come home and I'd bury my head in the books. And I was still trying to juggle a relationship with my partner and like my social life and all that kind of stuff. And something slipped, my social life slipped because my partner took priority. And I just put on, my gym slipped because I was studying so much. I just put on a bunch of weight and I was like, you know what, I need to get this off. So in my second year of uni, I did a fitness competition. I lost all of my weight, got down to the leanest.
I cannot believe. And you say this so nonchalantly, by the way. You're like, yeah, and then during my classes that I overbooked myself for and prioritizing my man, I just decided to join a fitness.
I know. I don't know what was going through, but I look back on this now and I'm like, this is not normal. I definitely don't want to portray that this is normal because it's not normal. And I look back and it's all a bit of a blur. I don't know how I managed to make it happen. But I did.
You're high energy, so it's like
very high energy. Yeah. I've always been the type to have 2 or 3 jobs on the go, or multiple things happening that preoccupy me. And so I did a fitness comp, and I was really really strict with my routine. I was really proud, actually. I got up on stage, I did incredibly well, and then I just maintained that routine then throughout my university. So once that fitness comp was over, I was kind of looking for another challenge, if I'm being honest. And I did this subject called entrepreneurship, and that was sort of the gateway to me thinking that I could even be a business owner. So I did this subject, really opened my mind, and part of the assignment was I had to come up with a business idea and write a business plan. So I came home and I told Aaron, I've got this assignment, this is what I've got to do. And he goes, oh, I'll do it with you. Because his mum had been a business owner and had a business for most of her life. So he's been exposed to entrepreneurship with her. And he's like, I wouldn't mind having a business. So we both independently did the assignments. He went down the path of trying to come up with a product-based business, and I came up with a service-based business. And Jade Start was the business idea that I came up with in uni. I had to partner up with somebody, so we both wrote the assignment together. It was just a business plan, but I really drove it because I came up with the idea for it. And we did the assignment, handed it in, and I was super passionate about it because at the time I was already helping people, like friends and stuff. They'd come to me because they knew of what I had done in the past and that I was working as a paralegal, and they'd come to me and they'd go, I've got this business idea I want to launch. What do you know about this, this, and this? And because I was, negotiating leases with tenants, helping them get liquor licenses, helping them fit out, helping them with their business, with marketing, with all that kind of stuff. They knew I had that well-rounded knowledge. So I thought, well, why don't I just set this up? And the lecturer said, you should set this up. At the time, there's only one other competitor that was doing what I wanted to do. And he's like, this is a really good business plan. I think you should set it up. So I did. I went and launched it in May 2015. I launched it. And I think I finished registering everything, and then I launched it in June. I can't remember the dates exactly, but I launched
Yeah.
it, and on the very first day I launched it, I got a client, and I was like, "Oh, this is a
Amazing.
good sign."
And for everyone that does not know, what is Jade Start?
So Jade Start is business coaching. Now it's business coaching for the beauty industry, but when I launched it, it was just startup business coaching. So I'd help people set up and launch and grow their businesses in their infancy years. So the first critical few years of their business. So I was helping them with everything from all the legal stuff to, getting business plans, getting marketing plans, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's what it was initially when I first launched it. It's grown and evolved over the years. But yeah, I had a client straight away. And this was all while I was still studying full time and working full time. And so I realized like doing group stuff wasn't even on my radar back then. Because like, when you first launch a business, you really want to see if it's going to work and, who you're going to be needing to service and what changes you're going to need to be making. So I was just interested in working with people one-on-one. So I knew I had a limitation as to how many people I could work with while I had everything on. And I think the max I had at any given time was about 5 or 10 clients. And yeah, I did that in between everything else. And the business kept just growing. It was obviously meant to be. And I had this unique offering. And so anyway, I finished university and got poached, well, not poached. When I was working at the property developer, the developer went into what's called receivership, which means external parties are appointed to manage and control the project. And PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, they're a massive firm all around the world, and they were appointed as the receivers. And they said that they wanted to keep us, so we weren't made redundant or anything, but for that week, it was really stressful when they were appointed because I didn't know if I was going to lose my job. I had to prove my worth. And on top of that, I had this really expensive degree I was paying for. So I couldn't afford to, lose my job and give up university or anything like that. So while I was, head down, bum up, proving my worth and stuff, they ended up keeping us on, and then I stayed on and kept working for them. And my role with them changed. I got into marketing as well as legal. And as people left over the years, I just kept absorbing their roles. Started doing a bit of
I'm sure they loved you.
yeah. I was the last one there. I was literally the last employee. And then when I graduated, they said, come work with us. So I finished the day I finished, I called my partner, the guy who was running the project, and he said, yeah, just come work for us. So I went and worked for PwC, and I worked for them for, gosh, it must have been nearly 6 years before I had my baby and left the corporate world. But it was just such a blessing in disguise having all of those different roles over the years, all of that exposure to so many different things. And then to have my business as well, giving me that really practical hands-on experience with people as a business owner. And they loved the fact that I had my business. They never asked me to stop doing it.
Were they really supportive of you having your own business? Okay, amazing.
Yeah, they were really flexible. Even with my study, they were really flexible. They said, we don't care what hours you work as long as you work the hours and you get the job done. And because my output was so high, they knew that they didn't have any problems that I wouldn't get the work done. And in being in legal and conveyancing, it's a really high pressure job because you've got tight deadlines for things. Things can't be left to the next day when you've got a settlement the next day. So like they knew they could rely on me. So no matter what hours I worked, I'd get it done. So I was just really blessed and really lucky. And I managed to go into corporate. They put me through an accounting degree. So they paid for me to do an undergraduate in accounting. So I did that while I was working at PwC and continued to grow my business on the side. And then, the business got to the point when COVID hit that by that stage, I'd finished developing an online group coaching program. And I was predominantly working with beauty businesses, probably 70-80% beauty businesses at that stage.
Yeah. I'm so curious to know, like, well, how did that happen? Like, was it just like a beauty, like, did you just start working with like a beauty person and then like the referrals through the beauty industry kept happening?
Yeah, I started working with a few different beauty people and me posting about them and sharing about them talking about me. I picked up more and more beauty businesses. I jump inside the beauty business Facebook groups and answer people's questions and promote my services in there. This is before Facebook groups used to be really strict. And over the time, I just kept growing and growing and growing. And I found that beauty businesses were so easy for me to work with because I had that understanding of their industry and how it worked because, I was obviously interested in beauty from a young age. But also on top of that, they lack a lot of structure. They lack the business acumen, the financial acumen, and the legal acumen and the structure. And I brought that to the table. They were creative. I was bringing the logic. So it was sort of like
it's like such a yin yang. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, the beauty industry is so creative. And like, because you've talked to so many beauty industry people, it's like, what is the one thing that stresses you out, the side you're talking about.
Yep. Yep. And they're so trusting, I find anyway. And I know you have to earn that trust, and I've earned that trust over the years. But like when we take on a beauty client, we ask them to do something, they do it, and they get the results because they trust us. And so I found other clients in other industries can be a little bit harder because they have that little bit more independence and want to do things their own way, and they're not getting the results you want because they're not listening or they're not implementing what you're telling them to implement. And I thought, they're just so easy to work with. It's just such a natural choice for us to go down that beauty path. But I just finished launching that online group coaching program. I'd been selling it out intake after intake after intake, and I thought COVID hit and everyone wanted to start a business. So at the time, just circling back to that uni assignment, my husband came up with a business idea at that time. He came up with round beach towels at the time when they weren't popular, and there was one other competitor doing them. And so he launched it, and it went gangbusters. Sold really, really well. And he ended up leaving his corporate career to run that business. But he found it was a massive lack of fulfillment because he was just stuck behind a computer all day doing graphic design. And he's got a graphic design degree, and talking with people on Instagram. He's an extrovert through and through. Like if you met my husband, you'd be like, yeah.
Well, he came the first 3 minutes. He was like, hey. Yeah.
Him and my son, they're two little extroverts. And I'm the introvert here. I don't mind. They can overshadow me. I love it. I just sit back and watch them. But he needed people. He needed to be around people. And so he launched a consulting business after that he would work with professional service firms and corporates. And he had global clients, and he was doing really well. But then when COVID hit, corporate stopped spending money on training. So his business dried up because nobody was everyone had to work from home. There was no training that was happening. So I was screaming for help because my business was exploding. And Aaron and I both know the same stuff. He's got his strengths in sales and marketing. I got my strengths in legals and accounting and operations, but together we were a match made in heaven. And at this stage, I think we'd been together for 10 years or something. So it's not like we were diving into a new business venture just newly together either. So we started working together, absolutely loved it, and decided that we wanted to make it a thing. So so at that stage, we were still working with all business times, but 80% beauty. And then when Aaron came on board, we kind of had a revaluation of the whole business, and we're like, let's pick our niche. So we're going to go down beauty. We tried to rebrand for a few years, but couldn't come up with another name to save us. So we're sticking with Jade Start, but we're going through a rebrand of Jade Start this year, actually in April. So it's been a really cool evolution.
Are you still working at your other job at this point?
No, I left PwC when I went on maternity leave. However, okay. I do.
Are you still doing both?
I'm about to. I am contracting back into corporate as a contractor, just 1 day a week for some projects. Like I've had a couple of firms approach me. They want me to work on a few different projects that they've got happening. And so they're paying me to come in as a contractor for 1 day a week and just do some stuff. Yeah. It helps me keep my finger on the pulse on tech and strategy. Mm-hmm. And I get mentorship from them, but I bring to the table skills that I've learned as an entrepreneur myself as well, and my corporate.
Yeah. And from mom to mom, it also gets you out of the house.
Well, I'm going to be working from home, so I
will be working from home. Yeah. I thought you would be able to leave your house. I'm like, well,
I don't want to leave my house. My son is so addictive. He's a little Leo, and I just love hanging around him so much. So we work from home, and we just have an open door policy. So the clients know that if he comes in, he comes in. If there's something really important, I'll shut the door. But otherwise, we have a nanny. She works here from the house with us, and she just plays with him throughout the day. And, it's a great thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, a Leo, you're in so much trouble.
It's beautiful now, but I'm sure I'm in a lot of trouble when he gets older.
My son is turning, I told you 4 on Monday. So he's a little Pisces baby. He's like a water sign. He's going to be who knows? I don't know how real astrology is, but it's so far he truly is sweet. So I'm hopefully he just stays nice and, emotional.
His biggest challenge would be trying to please everyone. My son's biggest challenge is trying not to get frustrated with everyone.
Totally. I know. I'm Leos, but you know what? Leos are they're not successful, you know, like, and
No,
not even just business, but just like friendships and you know what I mean? Like their goal is to like to succeed in everything that they do, no matter what it is. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You can already see that in him now. It's crazy.
So tell me a little bit about like your group coaching. I know, especially because now you take on more people at one time. So like who exactly do you tend to like who exactly is like your perfect person for your group coaching?
Yeah, so we have two programs. We have the group coaching and then we do consulting. And there is a difference between coaching and consulting. I don't know if anybody's ever explained it, and I'll just explain it just in
Mm-hmm.
case. There's with coaching, you have somebody who teaches you the tactics or the strategy, and then you go away and you do all the work. So you do the research, you do the implementation, you do it all. You just get the information essentially. With consulting, consultants do it for you. So they will upskill you on the strategy, but they will do all of the work. They will do all the research. They'll do all the implementation. It's very hands-on for the consultant. So we do a mix of both, which is quite unique because there's not many people in the industry that can do both. And so with the group coaching, we take people, typically they're earning under 200,000 Australian, which might be about 120,000, 130,000 USD. And they're really at that first few years, or if they've been in business a long time and they're just not getting anywhere, that's sort of the stage that they're at. They're a beauty business owner, and they lack a lot of the structure around marketing. They find selling really awkward. Their pricing is often too cheap. We have in our community a lot of really kind-hearted, warm entrepreneurs. We don't get the bitchy, catty entrepreneurs, which is really good. And so they're often, as part of that personality type, they're perfectionists and they undervalue themselves. So we get a lot of those people come through our programs. And so the results we're able to get from them just by injecting the confidence and the strategies is incredible. Our members are often doubling and tripling their revenue. It's not uncommon at all. And it's just because once they understand the strategies to do it, they start believing in themselves a little bit more. They start getting the results, and then it starts to snowball and compound and get more and more and more. So yeah, we have a lot of members in our community who are like that. And I think having that culture is really important, like, because you want to make sure when somebody joins your program that they aren't just going to learn the strategy, but they're also going to get that community and that culture in order to thrive. Because I know you might have experienced it with your business, but when you're a business owner, it can be really lonely, especially if you don't have other people to bounce ideas off or collaborate, you know, in the idea stage of anything, whether it be a marketing strategy or a new product launch or a service that you want to implement. And on top of that, when you have bad days, you've got no one to keep you motivated. So
For sure. And I was going to say too, like for me, it's like I love talking to people because I can only think one way and like in the box that I have in my brain, you know, and like
yeah,
whenever you are able to have a community of people, you can assess like an issue that you're having and say like, this is what my roadblock is, but like your roadblock is someone else's map. And they're like, wait, have you tried this? And you're like, oh my gosh, I've never even thought to do something like that. So like, I think that's, you know, so many people are like, not that they like dog community or anything like that, but they're like scared and intimidated by community. But it's like, it's only beneficial, especially when you look at it in a sense of like helping people think differently. And you're there to add value into someone else's life. Like there's so many times where I tell people, I'm like, oh, you should do it this way. And they're like, oh, you know, it makes you feel good both ways. And so I agree with you. It's like, it is lonely to be in your own brain, to have only your own ideas and not really think outside of the box beyond only what you know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, that's the group coaching program in a nutshell. We have people all around the world that join that program. We're in 15 countries around the world. We've been running that program for a while now. We've really refined it. We've actually refined it again over the Christmas break, and we're launching a 2.0 version very soon of that program. So yeah, we love that program. You know, we jump on and coach people in small groups once a week. You know, we do intakes. We do an intake per week, but we have multiple intakes running at the same time. And we get to socialize and meet people, which is really great, without even leaving our house. And our son gets to socialize, and he jumps on and waves to people like he did with you when we first jumped on the call together. So it's really great fun. And then with the consulting program, we have a different ideal client. So we work with business owners who are earning over 200,000 Australian, and they usually have a staff member under their belt. So with the consulting program, they typically have a staff member under their belt, or they're looking to hire staff very soon. And so we jump in and we work with them for 12 months to scale and grow their business. And we typically get anywhere from 30 to 70% uplift in revenue in the first 3 to 6 months. And that just continues to compound and grow for the rest of the 12 months. And we're putting all the structure they need to hit 7 figures comfortably and scale back their time as a business owner, because at the beginning stage of business, or until you hit that sort of 200,000-300,000, you're wearing a lot of hats in the business because you don't have the cash to be able to outsource and delegate and hire staff and all of that kind of stuff. But once you start earning over that threshold, you start to have, especially with, structure that gives you profitability, you start to have a bit more money to hire staff and to outsource and all that kind of stuff. So the goal for that business owner is typically to scale their time back from working in the business so they can work a little bit more on the business and do more leadership type stuff. So we work with business owners to help them with that transition so that they can step back in the business, still be on the tools if they want to be, but, not in the capacity that they were, so they don't burn out. They can have more work-life balance with their family or their partners, or travel, or whatever their goals are, and still have a thriving, successful business.
Now, do you typically take people, because I know you say beauty industry, but like, are we talking like brick and mortars? Are you talking about product developers that have like a product brand? Are we talking about like just really anybody in the umbrella of the beauty industry? Or do you like specifically help one type of beauty entrepreneur?
Yeah. So with the group coaching program, we work with anybody in the beauty industry, all, product and service type businesses. With the consulting program at this stage, it's designed for salon owners, but a lot of salon owners have their own products anyway. You guys might know the brand Brow Bible Academy, Jade Cook. We helped her with her salon. We helped her transition into Brow Bible Academy and helped her make that a global success over the years. I've been coaching Jade for years now, and
Jade's amazing. Yeah. You guys are a lot alike in terms of like inspiration and motivation, because I'm like, oh my God, I love Jade so much too. You guys are both named Jade. I remember like telling her, I'm like, wait, is her name Jade? Right? And no, that's your name. So what's her name? And she's like, okay, Ella. She's like, haha, like this is the time where you got it right. Like we're both Jade.
And it's spelt the same way too. And it was whenever my husband and myself and Jade would all be on the call, he'd have to go, my Jade, and then Jade, and then my Jade and Jade, because we're quite close. But yeah, so we work with brands like Jade Cook to help her with products, and we work with Brow Shop in Australia. They're one of the largest brow supply businesses in Australia, and lots of other brands like that we've worked with to help them with their business as well.
So someone who is really interested in this call, maybe they're seeing themselves in a group position, maybe they're seeing themselves as more of a consulting program. When's like the best time for them to get a hold of you? I know that you said you were also coming out with 2.0. Do you recommend people wait for that? Do you recommend, or is that being rolled out either way to those that are in your programs?
Yeah. So the best step is we offer a complimentary strategy session, which not a lot of people do, but we do it deliberately because we like to give value up front. We like to see whether that person's going to be a good fit to work with us, whether we're going to be a good fit to work with that person. So it's a mini coaching session. It goes for 45 minutes to an hour. We make the call all about you. And so we don't actually talk about our coaching services or anything like that. If at the end you want to know some more information or you want to work with us, then we'll go down and we'll explore that path with you and talk about the programs. But we like to sort of use that time to help you get a plan, help you work out what's going to be your direction in your business. And often those calls are highly valuable for people. Not often, they are highly valuable for people for a number of reasons. One, you get to work out in clarity what your goals are for the future. And you might have some goals, but we go into a lot of detail. And as part of that, we're diagnosing what you're missing in your business as well. So we can actually see, well, you're not going to achieve that goal because you're missing this piece in the puzzle. If you put this piece in the puzzle in place, you'll achieve that goal. And so we can sort of help reverse engineer what they need to put in their business based on where they want to take their business over the next 12 months. And so we do that. We offer that complimentary. You don't have to pay for that session.
I know. And I'm like, that already is like crazy amazing.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah, we thought about charging for it, but we, like I said, it's as much of an interview on our behalf as it is on your behalf. And so we think, if we're getting a feel, like I said, we've got a good community, we want to make sure we accept good people into our community. So, if we're getting a good feel and a good vibe from you, then we'll offer our coaching at the end. So we don't want to have to someone to pay for that. So we do it for free. So that's the first step. And then on that call, we'll sort of diagnose which program is going to be the best fit for you if you're wanting to work with us. And so if consulting is going to be the best fit, we've got a wait list. We'll put you on our wait list. And when, it's your turn to start, we'll onboard you and get you started. And if it's the group coaching program, then we'll put you in we're usually a month in advance with our intakes in terms of sellout. So we'll put you in the next available intake. In terms of the 2.0 version, what we're rolling out, the current members will get access to half of that new version because we're putting more stuff in there, and they're going to get access to the full version at a heavily discounted rate because they've already paid for the previous version. So it doesn't matter whether you do the current version or the
it evens out, right?
It evens out, yeah. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So how can people find you, and how do they, how are they able to get more information other than, of course, the free discovery or I don't know what you call it, but like discovery call is
discovery strategy session. Yeah. We're really active on Instagram. So you can find us on Instagram. It's at JADESTART _. Otherwise you can head to our website, jadestart.com, JADESTART.com, and you can book in a discovery session there.
I know. And I'm like, okay, just to put my final thoughts of this in, truly, your life has only proven to me just how hard you work, and you're up for a challenge. So I do not deny anybody coming to you and being like, I need help. I cannot see you being like, yeah, no, you're going to be like, oh, you need help? I could do that.
Yeah. With our consulting clients, I didn't mention this before, but when I worked at PwC, I have insolvency experience. Obviously, having worked on a receivership, I then joined the team that deal with insolvency, so bankruptcies, liquidations, receiverships, and I did that for a number of years. I don't know any other business coach out there that works in the beauty industry that has insolvency and recession skills. So we've been very busy taking clients that are like, oh my goodness, I don't want my business to fail in 2023. We're on the brink of a recession. What do I do? And so we've been just with the skill set, being able to help a lot of businesses and, give them the strategies they need to act quick and to turn their business around before it's too late. My biggest piece of advice in terms of when to get a business coach, obviously you want to do your research. You want to make sure the coach has got the skills that you want. You want to make sure they've got proven results and all of that kind of stuff. But in terms of when, it's so incredibly hard for a coach to get you results if you leave it too late. I don't think it's ever a bad time to have a business coach, because if you get on the front foot and you get one when things are good, you're only going to compound that success and have more success and put yourself in an even better position. If you leave it too late, often the turnaround, it needs to be quick, but the strategies don't work as quick, the long-term ones anyway. The short-term ones cost a lot of money to implement. And if you don't have the money to implement it and you need the results quick, it becomes a bit of a catch-22 and you find yourself in a tricky situation where it could be make or break. And so my biggest piece of advice would be give yourself enough runway where it's never a bad time to have someone look over your business and go, what's missing? What strategies do you need to implement? How can you make things work better? And if you jump on that quickly, you'll have more success quickly and you'll keep yourself out of the situation where you could potentially be staring down the barrel of an insolvency.
Yeah. And it's you want to, be in such an incline and be looking forward to the future and all that stuff. I can't imagine waiting too long and feeling burnout and feeling hopeless and helpless. And I could see that also being so problematic. So yeah, even if your business is going good, it's my advice, I think, just from what you said is think of the 5-year picture. And if you feel like that could use some help, which I'm going to almost guarantee everybody would need it, it's time for you to find someone to help you do the things that you can do. Because like you just said, we all wear so many hats. Yeah. And why not try to get some of those hats taken off with the correct, person with the right skills. So,
my gosh. And on that 5-year plan thing, a lot of people don't think that far in future, but especially if you're in your early 20s, you're like, oh, but I want to do what I do forever. I never want to shut my salon. I love doing this. I can almost guarantee you will want to leave your salon at some stage. You'll want to have a baby. You want to scale back your hours if you want to have kids, or you want to travel the world and you'll want to start to leave the salon in some capacity. And even if you want to have multiple locations, that is a strategy in itself too. So you really do need to start thinking, what is the big picture that I want in my business? And then reverse engineering what structure you need to make that happen. And I'll just also make a point, with coaching, there's a lot of coaches out there that have had successful salons and they get into coaching. That's totally fine. But more often than not, they don't know the multitude of strategy. They only know this one strategy that worked for them, that helped them get successful. And they don't sometimes often understand the context of why that strategy worked. So they will just teach you what they know and what they've done to get to where they've gone. But it's not a one size fits all in business. You know, there's so many strategies, and it really depends on your goals that you want to achieve down, you know, your end goal, the goals you want to achieve in the short term, the medium term, the long term, and also your circumstances behind the scenes in the business as well. So, you know, if someone's carrying a lot of tax debt, the strategy you implement in terms of a financial setting is going to be different to somebody who's not carrying a lot of tax debt. You know, where the amount of profit that you make is going to vary depending on your situation and your goals. You know, if you want to sell the business, you want to generate as much possible as profit as possible. But if you don't want to sell the business, you want to generate as least amount of profit as possible. And that's all for tax purposes. So there's so many strategies. And my next piece of advice would just be to, you know, be cautious going down the path of coaching with somebody who, you know, has become a successful salon owner, then turned into coaching, because they're only going to teach you that one strategy that they know. So just be very careful that, you know, you want to make sure your goals and stuff align with the person that you're trying to get advice from, and that they know the right strategy for you.
Jade, I'm literally obsessed with you.
Thank you. That's so sweet. I've had a blast. Thank you so much.
I'm like, how are you spitting this much fire at 8 a.m? I will never understand this. I have learned so much in 50 minutes than I think I've learned all week. And I'm not kidding. Remember, I told you I wanted you so badly on my podcast. And like, I am so happy for anybody that gets to listen to this. I am so thankful that you came onto this podcast, and I want everyone to check out your page and to see what you're all about, because like I said, I have no doubts that you will change people's lives.
Thank you. It's our mission to not only change people's lives, but to change the industry. So we want to make the industry a better place for everyone to work in. So definitely check out our page. We do lots of Instagram lives every week where we give loads of free information away. So, you know, if you've learned a lot from this episode, you're going to learn a lot from our lives as well. So definitely check it out. And they're all saved in our highlight reel. So you can go back and binge watch and level up in business.
If you guys do not follow Jade Start on Instagram, I will be so creeped out by you, because how do you not?
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jade. I really hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday morning. And seriously, thank you so much for gaining, you know, letting us gain this knowledge from you. And I'm just so thankful.
It's a pleasure. It's honestly a pleasure. I have so much more to give. So if you ever want to do another one on a specific topic, then let me know. We can even go deeper on some of this business stuff.